Hey everyone, it's Nathan Orenstein with The No Show, here to talk about Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse stars Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe and is written by Robert and Max Eggers. When I first heard about The Lighthouse, I was incredibly excited. I didn't necessarily love Eggers' 2015 debut The Witch, but I did see a lot of promise in Eggers' ability to take a simple story and to turn it into a truly captivating film. It was also obvious that Eggers had poured everything into The Witch to make it a film that perfectly emulates its time period while still maintaining a high level of fantasy and horror. I thought it was a great film and an especially impressive debut, but nothing too amazing. The Lighthouse is different though. Not only does it surpass The Witch, but Robert Eggers has managed to create a modern horror masterpiece. The first thing you'll notice about The Lighthouse is how it looks. The film takes place in the 1890s, and Robert Eggers really wants you to feel that. It's shot in a 1.19 to 1 aspect ratio, causing the image to look almost square. It's also shot in black and white. It was a bold choice to film under these conditions, especially in 2019, but I think this choice truly pays off in spades. This is how a film would have looked like if it had come out around that time, and it adds a strange sense of realism to the movie. The sound quality also reflects the 1890s, and it sounds like it was intentionally made more grainy. All of this builds up the setting so well, and it's completely unique when compared to other modern films. To be honest, I was a bit concerned that these artistic choices would provide a glossy cover-up to hide an otherwise standard horror experience. Luckily, I was completely wrong. I don't want to divulge anything about the plot, so all I'll say is that Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are both lighthouse keepers on a remote island off the coast of New England. Obviously, there's more to the story than that, and The Lighthouse does an incredible job of blending the real with the surreal, something that Robert Eggers had previously cut his teeth on when working on The Witch. This is a movie that's completely insane, while still somehow being heavily rooted in reality. It's the type of movie that can be interpreted in any number of ways, and I really don't think there's a singular answer. The Eggers brothers have written a movie that manages to leave room for interpretation while still being airtight. Every line of dialogue here feels important, and it's hard not to hang on every word looking for some sort of piece to the overall puzzle. But the dialogue isn't the only aspect of this movie that acts in this particular way. Every single shot in this movie tells a story. And yes, I know how cheesy and cliched that sounds, but it's true. Shots are composed perfectly, and the camera moves in such a deliberate way to help tell the story. The imagery in The Lighthouse works the same way, and some of the images here are genuinely some of the most memorable I've ever seen. The last 10 to 15 minutes of this movie house some of the most disturbing imagery I've ever seen, and there's one shot in particular that might be the most unsettling image I've ever seen in any movie. It would be a shame to talk about The Lighthouse without talking about the tour de force of acting on display here. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are really the only actors in this movie, but it never gets even remotely old. I will warn you that they both have incredibly thick accents, and it's definitely hard to understand them at times, especially Dafoe, but this never really felt like an issue to me. Dafoe plays the veteran lighthouse keeper. He's loud, verbose, and bossy, and he's prone to long speeches and long bouts of drinking. Pattinson, on the other hand, is working his first shift on the island. He's quiet, subservient, and he stays away from alcohol. These are obviously very different characters, and this is reflected in how the actors portray them. As the film goes on, dynamics twist and turn, and the actors' tasks change with them. It's hard to describe exactly what makes these performances so great, but it becomes increasingly evident as the film progresses. This isn't the type of film the Academy generally appreciates, but Pattinson and especially Dafoe both deserve Oscars for their efforts. This is a bold claim, but The Lighthouse is one of the best movies I've ever watched. It's so unique and weird and disturbing, and it left me completely speechless the first time I saw it. Then I watched it a few days later, and it had nearly the same effect on me. That being said, The Lighthouse definitely isn't for everyone. I wouldn't go as far to call it avant-garde, but there are definitely many experimental elements in here that could be off-putting for some viewers. But in my opinion, this helps to make it one of the most truly unsettling horror films of all time. I've spent more time than I care to admit thinking about this movie, but even after 2 viewings, I can't find a single flaw with it. The Lighthouse is a masterpiece, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if it goes down as one of the true horror classics. For these reasons, I gotta give The Lighthouse a perfect 10 out of 10. If you like the review, then go ahead and like and subscribe, and click that bell to get notifications for whenever I post. If you've seen The Lighthouse, I'd love to hear your comments down below, and stay tuned for my Halloween special coming on Thursday. I've been Nathan Orenstein with The No Show. Thanks for watching.